Well, welcome to the show. I'm Brendan.
I'm Corey, and this is Our View from the Bench. Welcome back, Benchwarmers. Today we're going to start our MLB season division winner predictions.
We're going to start with the divisions that actually represented each league in the World Series last October.
West Coast Party.
Woo!
I'm Corey, 47th man on the 40-man roster.
And I'm Brendan, interpreter for Pete Rose. And this is Our View from the Bench. Before we get started, if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss any one of our new episodes.
Also, if you could please do us the favor, and if you like what you see, smash that like button.
Smash it for us, man. It's free for both of us, and it helps probably more than you think.
All right, now we're going to move on to the defending NL champion D-backs division, the NL West, and let's see who's taking the crown.
Yes. Again, we're going to go in reverse order of the standings from the previous year. So we're going to start this one with the Rockies. I'm going to run with this one first, all right?
Yeah, tell me what you got.
Well, the Rockies roster is trash. Let's start there. The Diamondbacks played the Rockies today. I was watching it just before this episode started. So you can see it rocking the team here. They won 16-1. We just got that final. But I didn't really know anybody on the entire roster until I saw the thing and I was like, wait a minute, Chris Bryant is here? I forgot Chris Bryant was even freaking there, dude. So I don't know. I had to go look because there's such cellar dwellers. I had to go find a name. I couldn't think of anybody off the top of my head. So after they let Arenado and Trevor Story go, the Rockies have kind of just been in rebuild mode. Besides, obviously, the acquisition of Chris Bryant. Who knows how long this is going to take? I don't. They got reeled 16-1 on opening day by the Diamondbacks, so I can't say much. Diamondbacks have to have some tough seasons too, so I can't talk too much shit.
Very true.
But Rockies are sitting here kind of just trying to figure out what the heck to do. And I have them staying in fifth place at the end of this year.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with that, unfortunately. I will have to say I kind of agree with you. Looking at their roster, it is very sad. I know Bud Black is still managing the team, so he's been there, I think, like, God, 8 years now or so. He's been there a long time. But, yeah, they just – and, Chris Bryant, I think Ryan McMahon is the only other guy I recognize because he's been there a couple years and had a decent year. Charlie Blackmon is still there, but I don't know how he's still playing. He's been in the league like 10 or 11 years now at this point. I can't imagine he's making a big difference because we never hear his name mentioned anymore. But they had 103 losses, I think, last year. They didn't add anybody of significance over the summer or the winter, I should say. Chris Bryant is there, as you mentioned. And even then, I don't know how much he wants to be here. Over this, I think about a month ago, there was an article he got interviewed talking about how, when he was a free agent from the Cubs, that was kind of that same year they went into a lockout, and then the lockout ended, and then camp started, and he was kind of sitting around like, well, I got to sign with somebody somewhere, and I had a couple offers, but I went with the Rockies, and probably because they gave him the most money coming off his injury-plagued career prior. And his quote was also saying now, like, I guess I didn't do as much research into the prospects as I should have. Well, that's not good to say. And if you're a guy who's on his team, how does
what the hell are you trying to say? Yeah.
We're going into camp getting ready to,
that's messed up.
And we're going to win everything we can. But you're already saying, I don't even know. I didn't do enough research to even know what I was signing up for, which is not a good thing to say out loud. Again, like Rendon, keep it to yourself, man. You tell us everything you're thinking all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't finished in last. So probably, they lost 103 last year. I wouldn't be shocked if they lost 100 games this year, maybe even more. It's not going to help. Okay. It's not going to help that the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and Giants all did improvements to their roster. And even the Padres aren't that bad if you look at it on paper. Rockies are going to have to play each of them, 13 times a piece, I think? That's a lot of losses right off the bat. And because you play every division and every league, you're going to get a lot of good teams that are going to beat you up. And you might sneak some games in, especially in Colorado with thin air and having the altitude of your advantage at times. But they're going to be really terrible. It's going to be hard to watch.
It will be, which kind of sucks, but not so much. I don't feel as bad because this is our division, so I want every other team to freaking suck, to be honest with you.
Very true. That's good. A little selfish there for sure.
Exactly. So you've got them in fifth. I've got them in fifth. That's where they shall be. Moving on. Last year, fourth place were the Giants. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were in fourth.
Okay. So the Giants, which is so weird because I thought they were running with us to the wild card spot. The Giants, I think they kind of had a sneaky offseason, to be honest with you. It's going to be tough for the D-backs to try and get second again because of this Giants offseason. They got Snell, obviously, took that from the Padres. And then Jung-Ho Lee from Korea are pretty sneaky pickups. Granted, they were in the running for Ohtani. Didn't land Ohtani, but obviously they didn't have $9 billion to spend in 40 years, so
Yeah.
they just decided to add who they could. In my opinion, the Giants are the biggest threat to knock the NL West Diamondbacks out of second place, but I don't think they do. I have the Giants coming in third this year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Not bad. I have to say, I kind of agree with you, though, getting into third place. Like, again, the additions of Snell, which also hurts the Padres because you take it from a division opponent. You mentioned Hung Ho Lee, who has a career 340 batting average in Korea in 7 seasons. Now, I know it's a
Ooh, that's
Korea.
good.
It's not the MLB. It takes time for guys to adapt. But Suzuki, who was in Chicago last year for the Cubs, came over and pretty much adapted right off the bat and had a really solid year. So I don't think that the batting is as hard to translate from Japan or Korea as the pitching is. I think that's the bigger issue and harder thing to translate and takes a little more time. They added Chapman at third base, who's a solid third baseman and good defensively. They added DH Jorge Soler, who won the MVP in the 2021 World Series for the Braves, and he's got a lot of pop. I think he had like 40 home runs last year in Miami, and Miami was even in the playoffs, which they don't do that often. So he was a big part of that. I think that they improve. I think, again, the division's not going to be easy because the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers and even the Padres, again, they didn't do a lot. They lost a lot, but they still also added Dylan Cease. So there's a lot of movement going on within the division. But I still think the Giants are going to be improving and maybe even competing for a wild card spot.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it's going to be tough, and let's be honest. I mean, the Dodgers is so it's really coming down to the Giants, right? I mean, I think they're the ones that are going to really kind of give the Diamondbacks a run for their money because they were good last year, well, good enough last year, and they've added, as you mentioned, a handful of good pieces. So I agree with you. So you third, right?
Yep, I have him a third. Can you imagine if Ohtani would have went there? Damn, that would have been
That'd
great.
be nuts, bro. I mean, better than LA, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But here we are. All right, so in third place last year for the NLS were the San Diego Padres. Those Padres we just mentioned. Blake Snell, that pitcher, has left, and that leaves them kind of pretty talented still, to be honest with you. But I just don't really know what it means. They've lost some talent, especially their ace, which I think he won. But there's some award that they give to pitchers, right? And when you do like really good, didn't he win that last year?
Sad
And
when your team finishes in third, don't make the playoffs, but you win a Cy Young award, which is an individual award. That says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of gives me my point about San Diego. But that's what we said last year. We see a bunch of talent on the paper. What is it going to translate to? My guess is they're actually going to come in fourth place this year. Something just seems off in San Diego. They just don't win, to be honest with you. And in fact, Corey, let me let you take this away here. I remember you telling me a story. You went to a game there, and there's a funny story about an interaction you had with a San Diego fan, right?
Yeah, so this would have been maybe like 2000. Okay, this was in 2007 because this was the first game that Brandon Webb pitched and when he went on his scoreless streak. Me and Frankie drove down to San Diego for the day, Padres, D-backs. Of course, I'm in a D-back hat and jersey, but I'm not a shit talker at all. I'm just there to watch the game. I love baseball. Frankie, who's a Dodger fan and is just there to be at a game. He does not care about this game and who wins that game that day.
They could both lose.
Exactly. We're leaving the walking up the stairs and going to the escalator to leave the stadium. These 3 Padre fans just are, and they're probably the same ages at the time, 2025. They're just yelling at us like, "Oh, the D-backs suck. Fuck you guys." I'm like, okay, like 1, we just beat you guys, and Brandon Webb had 7 shutout innings, and 2, like I didn't say anything. I'm not hooting and hollering. Frankie's a Dodger fan. He ain't saying anything. Like, why are you guys even talking to us? And then there was a little bit of a back and forth, like, well, you guys suck. I'm like, yeah, well, at least we've won a World Series. Like, you guys have been to 2 and lost them both. Oh, well, we don't care. Well, wait, what do you mean you don't care?
What do you mean you don't care about World Series? What's the point of playing baseball?
Frankie, again, being a Dodger fan, what do you mean you don't care that they don't win anything? Like, well, that doesn't matter. And it's like, that's the whole point of the game. Like,
it's literally why we all play
baseball to get into MLB and to win a World Series ring. Like, that's the whole point of the sport. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then as Frankie and I are walking away to go down the escalator, just like completely dumbfounded, they're still yelling and screaming, like threatening to fight us. And we're just like, dude, what are we even talking about right now? What is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Like, completely lost as to what is going down in San Diego in that thought process of, oh, it doesn't matter if we win or not. Then why the hell kind of the game?
Yeah, very true. And that's kind of why I put them in fourth this year, because I just don't feel like they're going to take that aura that the fans have and just not care. They got all the talent on the field, but who knows? Who knows?
On paper, again, I'm with you. I have them finishing in fourth. Okay. On paper, they have a lot of good things on offense. Drake Cronenworth is really good at first, and he's a young kid that they signed. Manny Machado, doesn't hustle, but he does hit a lot of home runs.
True. Doesn't
Fernando
hustle, that's
Tatis Jr., if he's healthy and plays the whole season, he's probably gonna have a great year, have some exciting moments, some crazy things we've never seen. Signing Xander Bogaerts last year obviously didn't work out. Now they're moving him to a different position. That's weird.
Yeah.
Han-Sung Kim, who's their second baseman, who I believe now actually is shortstop, they're switching him and Bogaerts, is a great player to watch. He's one of those hustle guys. He does everything. You love to watch him just as a baseball fan. But again, you look at all the things they have, and the pitching is the problem. Yu Darvish is great as his number one starter, but he's not who
And
he
then
used
what?
Joe Musgrove, he was great 3 years ago. He hasn't really been the same since they gave him the contract. And then they lost Snell. Now, I mentioned earlier they traded for Dylan Cease from Chicago White Sox. Great pickup because it's a very cheap contract for a decent pitcher. But he didn't have the greatest year last year. Now, that could be because he's on the White Sox, but it was more, again, we just talked about Snell won the Cy Young and the Padres were in third. So it's not, as a pitcher, it's not always a team thing. It's more of individually, you're not very good. And Sneese has slowly started to go down in the last 3 years. And I just don't think that that's going to be a huge difference. I think part of and they lost. I mean, let's be honest. The biggest thing, they traded Juan Soto because they didn't have money to pay all their payroll. Now they did go all in last year because at the time they knew, but we didn't as fans, that their owner Peter Seidler was sick and was close to the end. They wanted to make one last run, so they went all in for him. Unfortunately, he passed in the offseason, and now they're back to reality of like, okay, we're not good enough. We don't have the money. We lost our TV contract because of the Bally Sports thing. We lost. They had to get a loan, I think, for like $50 million just to pay off.
I remember.
So there's a lot of issues going on there, and I wouldn't be shocked if they end up selling a lot of guys at the deadline in July as it is, because if they're at the bottom of the division and they know they're not going to catch the Dodgers, and if they can't catch the Giants and Diamondbacks either, I think it's time to kind of blow it up and restart from scratch and just build around Tatis. I don't know if Machado's there at the end of the year either, to be honest.
Yeah, that I mean, again, I applaud them for trying because it's more than what the A's are doing. You know what I mean? They don't want to try to be, well, maybe their fans don't care, but at least the organization is trying. They're trying to put their best foot forward, get guys, get names, get talent, acquire it, keep it, trade for it. But it just hasn't been working out. And I'm with you. This whole over the budget, can't afford to make payroll thing is not good. I believe if I'm with you. If they're not in competition, which I don't see them being by the deadline, they're going to be huge sellers. These contracts are big, man. They got to dump them.
Massive. Okay, I'll give them one thing though, positive. Petco Park is probably one of the best 3 stadiums.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's absolutely fantastic. And they did some upgrades over the summer. They took the Tony Gwynn statue from out in like beyond center field in the park area.
It's like outside.
Yeah, they moved it. So now it's in actual center field, like beyond the wall. You can see it from the seats. So they've did a little bit of renovation out there. So one positive is at least people love coming to your stadium because it's a beautiful park and it's a great setup down in the harbor and downtown. They have a bunch of good local food and drink spots inside the stadium. Top notch, like I said, probably top 3 of the stadiums in the MLB, and I've been to 25 of the 30, and they're in my top 3. So it is a beautiful, immaculate stadium. That's the one positive they got going for them. At least people want to come check out games there.
They might be L's though. So
yeah, well, can't do anything about that.
In second place, yeah, baby.
Yeah.
How about them Diamondbacks?
Woo!
All right. The last minute ad of Montgomery is huge to me because I think that's the only thing we were missing. We had a very specific way to win last year. That was starting pitching through about 5 or 6, then bullpen 6, 7, 8, and 9. Adding a high caliber starting pitcher to an already decent rotation with Merrill Kelly and obviously Zach Gallen, Brandon Pfaadt, like we've talked about, who was very young, but I think did very well in the postseason last year.
Absolutely.
It's a really, really good one. Got a bump by adding Jock Peterson. I really like that. It's another bat, especially a left-handed one. And a lot of the talent that we had last year is returning. We've retained it, not only because we've already have them locked up, as we talked about Corbin Carroll's very long-term contract, selling it before he even, he won Rookie of the Year, but he was already on $100 million payroll. That's foresight. And I like that. So we've got a lot of people coming back. I'm just hoping this team can stay competitive all year. I want it to be enjoyable to watch because I don't want to go from the, that was a fluke that you made it to the World Series. I at least want to make it back into the October baseball and kind of just show. Even if we fight with a team and lose the first round, not wild card round, I'm sorry, like the actual first round. It is what, you know what, I was still applauded for making that deep run, especially after a World Series run the previous year. So I'm going Diamondbacks are in second, beating out that giant team in San Fran for one of the top wild card spots.
Yep. And I will second that. I cannot agree more. They and you didn't even mention they also added Eduardo Rodriguez.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wait, and I know he's going to start the season on the IL, as is Paul Sewald, the closer, but it's nothing major. It's looking like 15, maybe 30 days, so they'll be fine. But yeah, now that you have Kelly, just Jordan Montgomery.
Gallen, Montgomery,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Gallen, Montgomery, Kelly, and Rodriguez when he's healthy and fought like that five right there. But there's some baseball people, like former players and experts, that say this could be one of the best rotations in all of baseball this year, and that's saying a lot because they even gave Montgomery not a crazy deal. It's 2 years, $50 million if all the vesting options go in for the second year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great. Like you said, Rookie of the Year, Corbin Carroll coming back. I think he's got a lot to prove. They brought Gurriel back. Ketel Marte has been solid since they've had him from Seattle. Christian Walker had 30 home runs last year. He's been a perfect replacement for Paul Goldschmidt. He might not be quite Goldschmidt
No,
in
right.
his prime, but he's damn good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like they got
yeah.
some good. They got some good guys.
Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, by
Oh.
the way. Turned 33 today. Happy birthday, Christian.
Nice. And then you look at also like the same coaching staff, continuity of making a World Series run this year. I think that the thing that keeps sticking to me is Torey Lovullo last year at one point told the team, I want to say July or August, that do you guys just want to keep being like a second-rate team to the Dodgers in the NOS, or do you guys want to like show them that we can be like a real team and compete against them? And they took that to heart. They turned things around in the second half and the biggest thing I think, and not a lot of people will talk about this, but the biggest difference maker for them is catcher Gabby Moreno. When he played last year, he is so important to this team. When he played last year, they went 61-50. When he got hurt and was out of the lineup for a little bit, 23-28. And that was kind of when they were in their lull and kind of like, oh, I don't know. They started off good. I don't know if they're going to be able to hang. And then he came back, got the pitching staff back in their rotation and like situations all figured out.
Yeah.
Competing all the way through. And again, adding Montgomery, adding Rodriguez, Rodriguez, I believe, if I remember right, was on the Red Sox in 2018 when they beat the Dodgers in the World Series. So he's got some experience. Montgomery was lights out in the playoffs last year for the Texas.
Yes, I know. We saw it first friggin' hand.
Yeah, we did. So I think all those pieces coming back and adding those are going to be great. The team's taking advantage of this window where we got a lot of young talent. And you mentioned Carroll winning Rookie of the Year last year and already being locked up in a contract for $100 million plus. I like what they're doing. Hazen has this thing where he's kind of doing what the Braves are. You find the young talent that you draft, they're really good. They pop right off the bat, and instead of waiting the arbitration years out and dragging it along and manipulating service time, like just give him the money now. And then it's not a $300 contract when we're in a smaller market.
$300 million.
Yeah, or $300 million. It's $140 million. Like, okay, that's big for us, but
it's big for him.
Yeah,
he hasn't proven anything yet. I mean, he's a little bit to show that he's got talent, but he hasn't
he's not making $1 million a year at that time. He's making really, really rookie year money. And then you give him a $10 to $15 million contract a year for 10 years. That's a hell of a step up. And then again, you have a core to build around. I think Gurriel coming back is huge. You mentioned
Pena Power.
Jock Peterson coming in there is going to be a nice left-handed bat and platooning with Randall Gertchick on the right side. And then Blaze Alexander, the rookie that made
I like that guy. I like his name.
Yeah.
Blaze.
Made the lineup this year, made the roster, and they didn't expect him to. And he already had his first hit tonight. So, again, and not only did they win 16-1 against Colorado, they scored 14 runs in the second inning or third inning. They didn't hit a home run that whole inning. It was all singles. Move the next guy over. Move the next guy over.
That's how we play, baby.
Clear the bases. Like the new rules that they implemented last year about stealing and everything with the game, with the pitching clock, has worked wonders for this team because they're very aggressive on the base path. And I can hope and expect the same thing to happen this year.
Well, it brings back like old school baseball. It brings back like high school baseball. You don't have it's like when we were kids. It's like like legit baseball. You could steal. It's not all these weird shifts where it's like impossible to hit, and you're either home runs or you're striking out. That's like what baseball turned into for a little bit of a time because everyone would just cover the gaps where people hit. So I agree with you. I like it. To touch on Gabby real quick before we move on to the next team, which is a stupid team. I couldn't agree more. And the cool part about Gabby is not only is he one of the best, in my opinion, I would say top 10 total catchers in the league, but he's probably a top 5 defensive catcher in the league. But adding to that, he can also hit. He's not just a guy that is behind the plate like we've seen, some catchers be. There's a guy that used to play for the Dodgers. He has a long last name. He's made a career out of being a good defensive, starts with a G. I can't remember his freaking name for now. Maybe it'll come up to you.
Nothing's ringing a bell. I'm thinking Dodgers catcher.
Yeah, it's like from I'd say 5 to 8 years ago. Damn, I can't remember his name. Anyways, the reason why he's not on the Dodgers because he can't hit to save his freaking life. But the reason why he stayed in the league is because he could defend damn near anything. So he was one of the best, guys behind the plate And especially with the new rules, like you mentioned, you need a catcher who can make sure nothing gets past because people are moving. You need a catcher who has an arm that can get it to the plate to try to throw people out who are stealing.
Mhm.
And Gabby is that. So I'm with you. I love Gabby. I think he's the heart of the team. I've been seeing a bunch of the videos. Maybe him. I think him, Alec Thomas, and Corbin Carroll have been going to like hockey games in
Oh,
Phoenix
yeah.
and seeing basketball games, watching the Suns play and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to see all their interactions and stuff like that. It's fun, young, exciting team. Diamondbacks taking second.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll move on to the dumb team. Last year, the Dodgers came in first place. Blah blah blah. Literally, they're paying for a freaking championship. This team is honestly ridiculous, man. The amount of talent they have stacked is disgusting.
It really is.
However, I don't think the rotation or bullpen is really that good at all, man. We were looking at it last night. They have some people that we've heard of, but a lot of them are hurt. Clayton Kershaw, 40 years old, coming back from an injury. Walker Bueller, second Tommy John surgery. They got Glasnow, who, from what I've seen, disappears in the postseason. And then Yamamoto, who lost his first outing. Now, granted, it's his first outing. I'll give him a freaking break. He's got the rest of the season to kind of prove himself. But it wasn't a good start, I guess is what I'm saying. So I think that's kind of their only hole. The bullpen, I think you mentioned it yesterday. They could be improved at the deadline. Dodgers seem to be pretty good at kind of doing that stuff, but the rotation ain't that good. So they're going to be the best team in baseball for most of the year. There's really obviously nothing I can say to that. To be honest, it's sad to say, but this isn't a race for the NL West. The race is over.
Yeah.
It's really just a race for wildcard positioning at this point. Dodgers are amazing. But this Ohtani thing is very interesting. Okay, we're not going to cover it too much. Right, we'll give a couple of our opinions real quick, but we do plan on doing like a full summary video once kind of everything comes out. We're hoping that everything is actually released. So make sure you check back in because we'll do a full summary about all this crazy crap with Ohtani. But Dodgers take first place. Nothing kind of surprising about that. If they don't win over 110 games, I'd be surprised, to be honest with you. So these fools are stacked. They won game one. Ohtani hit damn near a triple on his first at bat at home. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Technically, by the way, is their third game because they played 2 in Korea already. Everybody keeps forgetting.
Oh, first home game. Yeah. That's what I
meant. But yeah, I'm with you. It's again, as much as I hate to say it, this is the one positive I come out of it though. The Diamondbacks swept them in the playoffs last year, 3 games. And because of that, they went out and spent $1 billion on Ohtani and Yamamoto alone. So at least I know we did something right because they went out and went, oh shit, we really got to go.
What happened?
Because we can't win when it matters. They've won 10 of the last 11 division titles. The one year they didn't, the Giants beat them by a game, and I think the Dodgers still won like 106 games. So it's astronomical. The offense, like you said, that's the top 3, top 4 now with Will Smith in there. It's Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, who have all won MVPs. 2 of them have won World Series in other places, and Betts won one here, 2020, whatever you want to call that.
Kind of, if you count it.
Yeah. And Will Smith is one of the best catchers in all of baseball right now. Just got his extension, so that's another $140 million, $50 million of it deferred because that's what the Dodgers do. I want a T-shirt that says it's blue and that said instead of saying Dodgers in the Dodger font, I want it to say deferred. That's what I want. I want a deferred shirt.
Let's buy one.
Them taking advantage of the system, I get it. Every team could do it and should do it. Blah blah blah, whatever. But it's just. And
it's lame.
A little bit of the Ohtani thing, real quick. If he's the one who came with them to the idea about the deferring money thing, he obviously is on top of his money. How does $4.5 million just get escape out of his account without him noticing? Just an idea, just a thought, just thinking about it. We'll get into it as we get more, like we said. But I'm just throwing that out there.
No, we're going to talk about it a little bit here.
I am with you on the pitching, though. The starting rotation, Yamamoto got beat up in his first game. Now, again, he's translating from Japan to here. It takes time for pitchers, usually a month or two, like the ones that have been able to transition. Ohtani did it pretty easily, but that's because he's
amazing. He's just something else.
And also Ohtani is 6'7". Yamamoto is like a little 5'10" guy. 5'10", small guy. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Lincecum, where it's not really about his overpower.
Oh, big time Timmy Jim.
Yeah, but like more about he knows how to manipulate the ball and play the strike zone, so he'll figure it out and get better. But I'm with you. Glasnow's already had 2 Tommy Johns. He's never pitched more than 120 innings, and he only did it for the first time last year, so it's not like he did it consistently. I don't know what to expect there. You mentioned Kershaw's coming back from a back injury. He'll be back maybe July, August. Now, the year they won the title in 2020, that was where Kershaw didn't get hurt because they only played 60 games. So maybe that's kind of what they're thinking this year. He'll play the second half, and he won't get hurt, and he'll be better. But again, he's older, and as we saw, the Diamondbacks lit him up last year in the playoffs, so I don't know if that's necessarily a guarantee. They might. Walker Buehler's coming back after a Tommy John. Dustin May might be back after a Tommy John. Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Miller's really good, but sophomore slump usually for pitchers, people start to figure your stuff out, and you tend to kind of drop down a little bit.
Before you adapt, right?
Yeah, Emmett Sheehan is really good, but again, another young kid in his second year, people will start to adapt to him. So the biggest question is going to be their pitching. It's if their offense scores, Teoscar Hernandez, another guy that hits 30 home runs, they could average 6 to 7 runs a game, but if they're giving up 5 to 6 runs a game on top of it, you're gonna have a lot more closer games. And the bullpen is a question mark now, but they tend to always go into the season. Even when they had Jansen, it was never easy in the ninth inning for Jansen. It was always nervous and guys on base and just all.
I loved when Kenley Jansen pitched because it was, I mean, half the time he blew it, so it was
Yeah, I'm with you
fantastic.
there. So, but they'll make changes and at the deadline, and they'll get guys that kind of have had better years in other teams where they're not competing. Aroldis Chapman in Pittsburgh, or
Yeah.
other guys like that that signed 1-year deals. David Robertson, I don't remember where he signed, but he's in a 1-year deal as well. So there could be guys that come here ultimately in July and August and help them in the bullpen. But the biggest question mark is going to be their starting pitching right off the bat. And I mean, they won today, and it's cool. They're 2-1, but it's baseball, man. What's the old saying? I think you play 162 games. Every team's going to win 60 and lose 60. It's what you do with the other 40 games that makes the big difference.
Gotcha. Do you the 160 or are you 60 and 100? Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so that shows you the order here. Let's quickly just give some of our opinions on this Ohtani thing because it's just too big to not talk about.
Let's do it.
A couple of the facts that we obviously know. $500,000 wire transfers out of his account. $4.5 million roughly total. Directly from Ohtani's account to bookies. But he has no idea what's going on. And that guy's a liar and that guy's a thief and all this kind of stuff. Again, we're going to get into the details to lay everything out because right now it's he said, she said, or he said, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But dude, I work in the banking industry. Just from like a banking perspective, moving $500,000 via wire transfer out of an account is not impossible, especially with Ohtani's money. But there's a lot of safeguards that kind of have to go around that with the accounts, and unless you have someone who has complete power of attorney over your assets, it needs you to say yes, go. And I understand these people aren't necessarily touching all of their money. They got accountants that do all this kind of stuff and blah blah blah. But directly from the account with your name on it to a bookie, I mean, come on, dude.
And not only that, even if Ipe comes in and says, man, I really screwed up, I need this money, you're not asking why or who you're transferring it to. You're just like, yeah, I'll help you, I'll do it, no problem. And then you just do it. And again, he's the one supposedly that came to the Dodgers with the idea of let me defer all this money so you have more money to spend on the roster. So you're obviously aware of your money situation and how money works and what's going on. How does 4.5 just disappear from your account over a couple month period and you don't notice or have any questions about it until after it's out for the world? And the other thing,
after it's being investigated by the feds.
And the other thing I think is interesting is they said that they're, Ipe stole it from him or embezzled it or whatever. Why has he not been charged yet? Why? And they said the authorities take it. What authorities? Why aren't you telling us who's looking into it instead of being so coy about it? I know he's secretive about everything, but there's no more secrets about this situation. You need to let it all be out there in the open and let us know what's going on, because otherwise people start making up stories. Now, I will admit there are things coming out now that Ipe never went to UC Riverside. Never worked for the Boston Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if the Dodgers are so good of an organization, how do they not back check all this stuff instead of just taking Ohtani's word for it? And how does Ohtani not back check it himself? Like, come on. There's a lot of question marks in this whole situation that I hope come to light not 10 years from now when he's done with this $7 million contract and he can't be affected by the baseball. Because if it's something that even if he didn't know it was betting and he didn't do the betting himself, he still did a crime by paying a bookie directly in California. You can't do that.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I know MLB is looking into it themselves. Who's investigating? I don't know. As far as
Manfred even said it's going to be a quick investigation. That shouldn't be a quick investigation. There should be a long investigation into this.
Agree. But when your golden cash cow is the one that is being implicated here, you definitely are going to be taking as many precautions and hiding as much as you possibly can, which sucks because to be honest with you, I just want the truth to come out. If he didn't do it, I want him to be completely exonerated and let this get off of his name, because it's tarnishing in the sense if it's not correct, right?
Correct.
But if he did do it, bro, do the time, do the crime, do the time. You know what I'm saying?
And let's be honest, this has nothing to do with him being Dodger. If he was still an Angel,
Nah.
if he was a Yankee, if he was whatever, Diamondback, I'd still want to be like, yo, one, why is he not being taken off the field while they try to look into this a little bit? Why are they allowing him to continue to play and it be a distraction on top of it? Like, that's the thing. If the Dodgers get out to a slow start, the questions are going to be, well, the team doesn't know what's going on with Ohtani. It's a distraction. But if the team starts off well and Ohtani doesn't, then it's going to be, well, he's thinking about it too much. He's distracted, but the team's not. And if they start off both terrible, then it's going to be all hell's loose over in LA and fans are going to be losing their shit. Although I do listen to ESPN LA a lot. They're huge Dodger fans. The guys are on the show and they've had fans call in. Fans of Dodgers don't care, to be honest. One guy
No, they don't.
said, I bought his jersey. If he did do it and he helped his buddy out or whatever, he's awesome. He's great. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, helping a friend. Okay, helping a friend. Yeah, I think it's good to help friends, right? But that's the difference, man. And it's more like of integrity more than I don't know if he did anything illegal, right? It's not. Is it or is that bookie? I think the bookie's being investigated by the
And
feds.
that's how
I
it
think
all
that's
started.
kind of why, right? Yeah. So it's gonna
Like,
be insane.
if him and Ipe are best friends or aren't best friends, whatever. But the talk was they're inseparable. He's at everything with him. They're like best friends. Me and you have been best friends for almost 30 years. I don't know anything about what bank you go to or how much.
I don't even know where you bank.
Exactly. So how can they be that close after only 6 years that he knows his wire transfer information and bank and logins to be able to just make $500,000 transfers willy nilly and nobody has any idea it's happening? It just doesn't add up or make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So that's going to lead us to the end of this one before we get caught in any libel or freaking, hearsay here. Again, this is all alleged. So we want to do a full episode. Hopefully the truth that's come out, and we'll do a nice little presentation, try to wrap it all up for you, so that way you know exactly what took place and what the I guess what happens because of it. But we're going to move into the end of the episode where we are going to predict headlines for the end of the season. And I'm going to row first because my headline will be Shohei Ohtani is suspended at some point in the season and perhaps indefinitely.
Wow, that's a big headline.
To me, I don't think the MLB is going to let it happen, but where there's smoke, there's fire. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
A duck.
So I don't know. Again, I don't want him to go to jail. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But my prediction is Ohtani is going to be suspended.
I mean,
it's crazy, I know.
If enough comes out that the MLB can't ignore it because the feds are in charge of it, it's not just an MLB thing. The federal government is involved. So
yes,
if they find shit, which they usually do,
yep,
he's not gonna be able to ignore it because the MLB feds are gonna step in and tell him like, no, you're gonna have to do something other. Like, also, let's be honest, he's not an American citizen. So I don't know if that comes into play either. I don't want him to be.
No.
Or have anything like that happen, but I'm just saying all these other factors you have to think about. Like, there's other things involved. It's kind of crazy.
Last point before you give your headline. I was watching the opening day. I know it's their third game, but I was watching his first home at bat. And as he's sitting there, I'm watching it at work with a coworker on her iPad. She's a huge Dodgers fan. I'm sitting there, we watch the first pitch, and okay. I'm like, I wonder what he bet he was going to hit this one.
Did he have the over on 1.5 bases for his first hit?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it was. Anyways, yeah. All right, so what's your headline then?
My headline for the NL West going into the season here is, even though I have the Padres finishing 4th in the division overall because I don't think they're going to be good as a team, they do have this one kid that they've decided to bring up from the minors who's kind of been one of their top prospects, if not their top guy for the last few years. Jackson Merrill will win Rookie of the Year for the Padres, becoming the third Padre to ever do so, joining starting pitcher Butch Metzger from back in 1976 and catcher Benito Santiago from 1987, being the third Padre to win Rookie of the Year. Kind of crazy that Tony Gwynn didn't win Rookie of the Year. I have to look back who won it that year, but
right, that's a really good point. Tony Gwynn is in it's crazy. It's crazy. It's insane. Okay, I like that. That's a cool one. That's not as
it's not as outlandish as yours, but
no, but yours is more realistic. I like that. Okay, well, that kind of wraps up the NL West. Make sure you check out the rest of our MLB Division Prediction Series. In this episode, we've covered the NL West champs, being the stupid Dodgers, but we'll be going over the rest of the divisions of baseball over the next few episodes. So make sure you check them out. Thank you, as always, for seeing things from RV from the bench. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace.
This was a Sycamore 4th Studios production.